Paul.
Good morning.
We're here in British Invention Show 2017. It's not the first time you're at the show. Where was your first show and what was your invention then?
It was the same invention, and my first show was 2009. And it was a very good show at Alexandra Palace. And I actually went on to win the top Diamond Award British Invention of the Year.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Right, so what happened then? Did you become a millionaire?
Unfortunately, no. I had some problems with media. I couldn't get any media coverage for the products. Unfortunately, what I've found since then is that if I'm talking to a tradesman that uses levels every day, they understand the invention and they get it and they understand why I did it. But if I'm talking to a non-tradesman, basically they just see a spirit level and the invention kind of almost goes over their head. Although they understand it, they don't really get it, and it's just a bit of bling to them. And for that reason they don't seem to be too interested in doing a story, which is really frustrating because my customers read their media. For example, The Sun. Most tradesmen will be reading that in their canteen, but the journalist doesn't think the product is interesting enough to put it in the paper. So
what is a product? What they're missing?
The invention, actually, it's quite subtle and it's hidden in the product. Let me show you with this one. When you're looking at a spirit level, you've got two rings inside the bubble there.
Yes.
Inside this vial. That's a liquid, and you've got to look at the ring from the knife edge like that, so it appears like a straight line rather than a circle.
Okay.
So you've got to get the bubble directly in between those two lines, but you can only see it from one line of sight. So the problem, and that is when you rotate it like that, you can now get that bubble in between the two.
Yes.
So the problem is, if you put that against a flat surface, you then lean into that flat surface to get your eye in line with that bubble.
Yes.
You're looking at the bubble, not where you put your face, and I leaned onto a nail and ended up getting punctured lower eyelid. So very, very close to losing an eye, and I felt there's got to be a safer way to do this. So I invented the mirror system, which you can see in here, but coupled with illumination, you can now see in there. Can you see that in there?
Yes, it's brilliant. It's
you can
light it up and
yeah. So that gives you a much more convenient view of the bubble, and also there's one in the end. So this bubble here, you can view through the end of the level, and nice. There you see.
Yes,
yeah.
So what do you call it? What's the name of the invention?
The invention is actually called ProView, and for professional view, really. So ProView, and as I say, that actually went on to win in 2009. So I was really chuffed.
Okay, you got the win. You had problems after this, going through sort of bottleneck as a private inventor. What's a narrow place? Where are you now?
Right, the bottleneck. Before I came to the show, my original intention was just to license it. I found that all the manufacturers that I approached loved the product, they wanted to do the product, but realising I hadn't got any funding, you find yourself in a catch-22 where they just keep dragging you along, dangling the carrot. Yes, it's fantastic, we want to do something, but we've got some more evaluation to do, etc. They'll waste as much time as they can trying to put you off, run out of money, whatever. Their intent is really that they want you to fail, the patent falls into the public domain, and then they can take your invention and put it in. It happens to too many people. So after I got fed up with that, I then created the X-Pro and tried to do it myself, hence we would come into the show for 2009. And even after we won that, I then tried to get the manufacturers that I previously approached to make them for me under my brand. They refused to do that unless I could pay up front, which is quite expensive for tooling. The tooling for this is £30,000, for example. Who's got that lying around? They would only amortise if I gave free use of the patents. Had I have done that, I would have given away my market, because no retailer would buy an unknown brand from an unknown supplier with one product when they can buy the same invention with an existing supplier that they've been dealing with for several years. So I kind of kept on going through these problems. Eventually I created a crowdfund, and over 17 months I launched. I had enough money to launch the first product, which is the one behind me just there, the Dragonfly.
Was that the first crowdfunding in Britain, actually? you did?
Well, yes, it was actually. I actually invented it in 1993, 11 years before Kickstarter.
I reckon that was illegal then, wasn't it?
And at the time, yeah, I hit every barrier going. It was illegal to forward trade. It was. It broke FSA regulations because you were technically receiving lots of small investments. It was almost on the border of breaking begging laws, and consumer protection you had to supply within 30 days. So I started tackling the people who made the rules. I actually did get some of the rules changed. And then, unfortunately, 1995, the British Codes of Advertising Practice has a new clause in it, which describes the essence of crowdfunding as we know it today.
No,
1995.
You were a farmer of crowdfunding then.
Potentially I am. Yeah, if there's somebody knows somebody who did it before me, but yeah, I invented crowdfunding 11 years before Kickstarter in America. So, but that's what I used. I resurrected it because I kept getting threatened. If I do this, I'm going to go to jail because I'm breaking this, that, and the other rule. Mm-hmm. So, being broke at the time as well, I was trying to get these rules changed. I was having meetings in London, booking them in to coincide with gyros because I didn't have any money. So, somebody phones up and says, "Can we have a meeting?" Oh, well, I'm busy for the next 2 weeks. Wait for my gyro to come in, and then I could go to the meeting. But, yeah, I couldn't afford to keep it going. I couldn't keep doing like that. I had to carry on with life.
What a story.
So,
how did you survive, and what's...
Well, luckily I've got some very good family. I managed to just sell off everything that was costing me money, and I lived at home rent-free, so that's how I managed to survive. And that's how I managed to do this as well. But because all these new crowdfunding things were popping up all over the place, nobody was going to jail. So I thought, I'll have another go. So I resurrected it. I renamed it Biscuit Tin, and that's the one I used to launch this one here.
So you raised money for the second product. How much did you raise actually?
I can't remember off the top of my head. It was about £15,000-20,000, something in that area.
And that was enough
to start the production run of that first run. The downside of that, actually, I launched it in 2014 at the International Hardware Show in Cologne, and all of the level manufacturers that I'd previously offered licensing to were all coming onto my stand. Now it's produced, asking for a license. By then I've invested all the money to go down my own route to do it as X-Pro, so that door was shut. And so I think a plan was hatched at the time that I was unaware of, because I did get it into a national retail chain in the UK. They then guided me into a distributor. That distributor is owned by the UK's largest tool distributor, who sells all my competitors' levels. So I think there was something going on behind the scenes, because what appears to have happened is they bought up all the stock that I got made, and then turned away all the buyers that I sent to them.
Do you understand right that as a private inventor you were dumped by the company?
I pretty much got dumped, yeah. They bought up everything and shoved it in the bottom drawer.
How much rights do you still have, or what we can or cannot do now at the moment?
Well, there was no contract between them because I didn't know anything about contracts at the time. I like most inventors, everything's done on a handshake. We're honest, genuine people. They're a distribution company. I'm a manufacturer. They sell on behalf of manufacturers. That's what they do. That's their job. That's their job description. That's why they exist. So why would you think that you would need a contract for them to do what they do?
Sounds like you do. Yeah,
but you do.
Yeah, to make them
make them go out and sell the product, because without that knowledge, had I known that before, I would have got a contract, and then I would have been legally, I would have had legal recourse to do something about it. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But that wiped me out for 3 years.
So that's good advice for private inventors.
I would, if the only gift I can give people is to believe in yourself. Everybody that you go to for help has usually got a an ulterior agenda, and you know.
Do as much as you can.
Yeah,
DIY.
do as much of it as you can yourself. I know it's difficult, and there's a lot of things that you need to learn, and that's why shows like this exist, and that's why they're such a great thing. Because there's a lot of people here you can come to and get that kind of advice. So don't be too keen to expect somebody else to have your back and take your product to market for you. It doesn't work that way. If you've got something that's fantastic, somebody else is going to want it, and they'll trip you up as best they can to try to get it.
So get involve friends and family, and go for crowdfunding. And DIY.
DIY it yourself. Do your own thing. I mean, I've got my own brand. I've got my own product. You know, I've potentially got some funding source now for the new launch. This is the new version that's coming out in 2018. This has got some extra features on it compared to the others. This is the only level I'm aware of this size that actually has illumination as well. So you'd obviously cycle through to a solid. There you go. It's quite a few interesting features on this product, including this new one, where if you're using it on a non-magnetic surface like timber or pipes or aluminium scaffolding, that would literally just quickly wrap around and locks in. So you've got hands free.
Brilliant.
And it's very simple to put up and release, and it also locks back into the new frog. This is a new frog that's been designed specially for it, and because they've got no pockets on their overalls on height, working on height with things falling out your pockets, there's actually a slot in there for a marker pen.
So what do you call it, and how we can find it?
This is the Firefly. The previous one was the Dragonfly. This is the Firefly because of the illumination. And it's available on my website, which is xprotools.com. So x-protools.com.
Thank you.
So,
thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for giving us your insights, and
thank you very much. A pleasure talking to you.
good
Thank
luck
you.
with your product.